Hey, what is up, my fish tank guys and girls? Welcome back to another video here in the Saltwater Rookie series. It's been some time since I've done a video in this series, but I want to tell you guys why, and I want to talk to you about what's going on. So basically, I'm calling the last couple months of keeping this BioCube the Battle of Green Hair Algae. It's like, you know, one of those names of battles in a war, right? The Battle of GHA, something like that. And I'll tell you, so far, green hair algae has been winning. Now, I've been struggling with green hair algae in this tank for quite some time now, and that's basically because of a very poor maintenance schedule, not keeping up with doing water changes and removing the excess nutrients from the tank. And now I've gotten behind and I'm struggling to catch up. So the reason that I want to talk to you guys about this is this happens in the reef hobby a lot. And a lot of folks that are on YouTube and posting videos of their tanks, much like myself, most often just post videos of their tanks when they are in great condition, when everything's clean, when the corals are, you know, open and vibrant and colors are popping and everything looks awesome. But the reality of it is, if you've got a family and responsibilities and a job and you know, extracurricular stuff you're doing, if you're in sports or anything like that, then you're going to find yourself strapped for time or strapped for energy. And when it comes to actually using your free time to take care of your aquariums, you kind of would just rather sit down and take a break, if you know what I mean. So battling with algae outbreaks is very, very common, yet a lot of people feel as though they're doing something wrong or they suck because, you know, oh, I suck because, man, I got green hair algae in my tank, or I suck because I have, you know, red slime algae in my aquarium. But, you know, rest assured, you're not the only one. It's happened to everyone who's been in the hobby for at least a few years at one point in time or another. So I'm actually going to turn on the lights and give you guys an up-close look of what's going on in the aquarium right now and talk to you a little bit about the steps I'm taking to help remove the GHA. Now, a lot of people go with a chemical. They'll dump something in the tank. They dose with, some people dose with vodka, and there are other products that you can use. I'm trying to do this the all-natural way. I'd like to avoid putting more chemicals into my aquarium because I feel like that will throw off my levels even more. So I'm kind of taking the natural approach to removing the GHA. Now, a lot of people say, you know, just do water changes, eventually it'll fall away and it won't have anything left to grow on, do a blackout and all that stuff, and all that's fine and dandy. But I've actually found that the GHA doesn't really go away with a couple water changes. It doesn't necessarily go away with a blackout either. So the first step that I'm trying to perform and work through is removal. Now, removal is really hard. If your green hair algae is really long and stringy, then you're going to want to go in and actually physically pluck it and pull it away from the rock if you can. But more than likely, if you have a worse issue, like a bigger problem here, you're not just going to be able to pluck it off the rock. It's going to be stuck on there pretty well, or it's going to be short enough that you can't really get a good grip on it and pull it out. So the next method is to use a toothbrush or some sort of nylon brush to go around your rock work and basically scrub the green hair algae off. Now, a lot of people say, okay, if you do that, you're just spreading it throughout the tank. It's just going to be in your water column. It's going to be floating around. It's going to attach to the rocks again. Well, I think with green hair algae, what you really need to do is you need to tackle it in multiple steps all at the same time. So if you're going to go the route of scraping all of the algae off of your rocks, getting it into the water column, having it picked up by your mechanical filtration and your filters, the next step you're going to want to do is perform a water change fairly shortly after you do that. Now, what I would recommend is doing that, waiting a day or two, and then doing it again, and trying to remove as much of the green hair algae as possible, followed by a water change. Now, it doesn't need to be a massive water change. It can be like 10% maybe, or 20% of your tank. But doing that water change helps you to at least suck up some of that green hair algae that you put into the water column that's floating around in there. And it helps you to replace that with nice, clean salt water. I always like to say fresh salt water, and it's kind of like ironic or something. But so that's the method that I am following. So as you look over the rock work in the tank right now, you will see that there is still some green hair algae, but a lot of it has been removed and scraped off. I actually did a water change 2 days ago, and I'm hoping to do another one today, right after I film this video. After that, I'm going to do at least a 2-day blackout in attempts to kill what's left in there. Hopefully I've taken out enough of that nutrient dense water that now the green hair algae doesn't have a lot to grow and flourish off of. And then if I remove the light on top of that, hopefully I can, kind of cut it down to a minimum. Now, in parallel with performing these, I also added some cleanup crew to the tank. I added some trochus snails, and I added some hermit crabs to help cut down on my algae as well. Now, adding cleanup crew, adding a lot of them is not necessarily recommended. You kind of want to creep up on it, because once your algae is gone, if you have a lot of cleanup crew and you don't have any algae growing, most of them are going to die. Now, it's been my experience that cleanup crew tend to cycle in and out of the aquarium, in and out, right? They die. And you need to replace them anyway. But if you want to, if you're replacing your cleanup crew, if you're adding, creatures to your tank, you don't want to add too many, so they have enough food so they can survive. So as you guys can see, as I'm panning through the aquarium here, that a lot of my coral are gone. A lot of them, didn't make it, or I removed them from the tank because the green hair algae was kind of taking over. Unfortunately, a lot of coral, like my war coral in the front right corner, it hates green hair algae. So any green hair algae around it, it kind of recedes and it sort of starts to die off, and that's what happened. I actually had a really nice war coral colony in that bottom right hand corner, kind of starting to spread, and then the green hair algae crept in and just wiped the whole thing out. My Incredible Hulk SPS is hanging on by a thread, but as you can see, it's been affected as well. And green hair algae is just kind of a nasty thing once it starts to get out of control. I'm really hoping that this puts a huge dent in it. I may need to do another water change. I may need to do another, round of kind of going off and scraping off the remaining green hair algae out of the tank. But I'm really hopeful that if I can do this, if I can kind of catch myself up to speed, that I can, get ahead of the green hair algae. I can go back to regular maintenance, like doing a water change every other week, and then bringing this tank back to kind of like showpiece status, right? I have this in my home. It's in my living room area. I spend a decent amount of time taking care of it, and it kind of sucks that right now that it's an eyesore rather than something that people are interested in and people want to come look at and marvel at, and look at the coral and look at the fish and things like that. So I'm really hoping to get over this. I'm sure if you're dealing with green hair algae, you probably feel the same. You're probably feeling frustrated. You're probably feeling aggravated. At one point, you might just want to start all over again. But if you stick with it, right, and be patient and try to carve out some time where you can dedicate to working on it. Now, what you might need to do is you might need to take some time away from some of your other hobbies, right? I'm a big gamer, so a lot of times when I get free time, I'm like, oh, I'd like to, there's this game I've been looking forward to playing. So maybe instead I got to nix that, and I got to spend that hour on my tank, and just spending a little extra time on it will really help it get back to where you want it to be, something you'd be proud of, something you'd be happy about, rather than kind of like depressed about and sad about and like you're almost anxious about, like, oh, what do I do? How do I solve this problem? So once again, I am the Fish Tank Guy. Thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. I apologize for not regularly posting, but this is the kind of thing that I've been dealing with lately, and I was considering not posting anything about it at all and just kind of working on it, and then coming back and being like, hey, look how great the tank looks. But you guys should know kind of what the reality of it is. This is something I've been struggling with for the last 2 years, off and on. If you follow the channel, you know that I kind of post and then I don't post. And typically it's because I just don't have the time to dedicate to my aquariums, but I'm not giving up. Not gonna do it. I'm gonna hold on to them. I'm at least gonna hold on to this one and the Fluval Evo, even if I have to get rid of the Fish Tank Duplex, because I don't really do a whole lot with it anyway. But I think maintaining at least well, maintaining 1 tank is at least doable. Maintaining 2 might be a little bit tricky. But I really love this hobby. I really love when things work out well, but you know, you gotta ride the waves of the ups and the downs. So this is kind of a downtime for me in terms of working on this and kind of getting through it. But like I said, due diligence, try to do things the natural way. If anybody has any other suggestions for knocking out green hair algae, please let me know. I would really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the section below, and I'll try to get back to you. If if something worked for you or something like this didn't work for you, definitely let me know. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. It's been a long time since I've done this, so I'm kind of like all scattered. But yeah, once again, I am the Fish Tank Guy. Thank you so much for watching, and until a future Fish Tank Guy video, I will see you guys soon.